if you identify with that idea of being an outsider in your family and that maybe you're healing the pattern in your lineage, of how we treat each other, of how parents treat children, about how people treat each other in general. Um, well, first of all, you might feel like an outsider in your family because you see something different and want something different than the other folks. And that may bring up a lot of grief. To not be accepted in our own families is a really deep form of grief. It's to be rejected by the very network that is supposed to receive you as a human being in your newness, in your vulnerability here on earth. And I think that's a particular kind of grief that we can carry. And I think it deserves its place. I think that also, as we try to pivot from what was painful about our childhoods, and we try to nourish and nurture something else for the kids that we're involved with in, maybe in our work, if we're teachers or caregivers of some kind to children, or if we're parents, or even if we really just want to have different kinds of relationships with our friends and our beloveds in our lives. We usually have to cultivate something, some kind of skills, some kind of foundation for relating that we never learned. And that can also carry another layer of grief, another layer of how painful it is to have to not be given that kind of basis or good ground for becoming ourselves, that we as adults have to go back and get things and weave it into our own foundation in order to pass it forward. Not being given something but being expected to give it later is taking something out of an empty vessel. We have to figure out how to put something in so that we can take something out. And that's another form of grief, or another avenue of grief around our families. And so if these are your griefs, I don't know if this is helpful, but I think of it as growing my inner mother, so that that orientation to me lets me cultivate self-compassion, and it helps me cultivate just the ability to figure out, like, oh, I'm needing skills, right? And not fall into the hole of like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm broken, or these are all the ways that I'm not good enough, that I wasn't given this to begin with, or that I didn't deserve it. So I hope that's helpful just as a starting place to start to consider that the work you're doing is growing an inner mother, the mother not just being a mom, like a female mom, but being the caregivers, being the ones who we're responsible for your care. And as we have to grow that for ourselves, it's really a nourishing act. It's an act of huge self-reclamation to offer ourselves a mothering that we didn't receive as children from our other caregivers. And I think it's a powerful place, and I think it's fraught with little tripwires of like, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve it, or I'm not worthy of this, or I'm so broken. And so when we can find the place with the inner mother where we are standing in self-compassion as we gather the tools that, yes, in fact, we missed somewhere, it's a deep act of self-reclamation. And so if this is you, good job, keep going. I'm totally rooting for you. I'm rooting for us.